Lawmakers are watching the investigation in London unfold ahead of getting back to work. I want to bring in Congressman Louie Gohmert of Texas ahead of a big week on Capitol Hill. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. I just first and foremost,
with you, Elizabeth.
I want to get your reaction, because we've seen the president tweet this morning on a number of topics, but we've also seen this back and forth between President Trump and the mayor. It's basically about being PC. I want to get your reaction to that this morning.
Well, what we've been hearing up before the terrorist attack, which, again, our sympathy and our prayers go out for those that were suffering, but all we heard was that the Paris Climate Accord was going to bring peace in our time, basically, that that was the way to destroy radical Islam, with the love and showing how much we care about the planet. All the Paris Peace Accord was going to, or Paris Climate Accord was going to do was cause us to pay billions of dollars to countries that hate us, and also really harm our ability to get our economy going again so that we can have what we need to fight this terrorism. So Trump, thank God he pulled out when he did. Now we can redouble our efforts where they're needed. But he's exactly right. It's political correctness that I might also add. Bob Mueller, as FBI director, also did a purge of our training material where our FBI agents don't even know what to look for to distinguish between a radical Islamist and a Muslim. And so, you know, we've been engaging in a great deal of that ourselves. Mueller was sitting down at the Boston Mosque where the Tsarnaevs were radicalized instead of investigating to make sure that they were not radicalized like they said. So there's been a lot of PC here that has caused us problems. And another problem, and it's a PC bunch of courts in the U.S. who have abandoned being United States courts and have taken on being world courts. Their jurisdiction does not allow them to give constitutional rights to people outside the United States. It does not give plaintiffs standing. So we've got some judges, I think they ought to be impeached and thrown out. But at a minimum, we in Congress have got to make clear we created those courts, everyone except the Supreme Court, and we can take this, the travel ban issue right out from under their jurisdiction.
You talked a little bit about
no business ruling on that.
You talked a little bit about radicalization earlier, and former Congressman Pete Hoekstra was on our air earlier. And
exactly,
he had said
I heard.
Yeah, and I want to get your take on that. He had basically said, and it was a think tank group that had predicted an uptick of terror attacks in much of Europe, and I want to get your reaction to that particular segment, sir.
Well, no, Pete's a friend, and we know, we have seen these things coming. We've been trying to talk about them and let people know. And across the mainstream of America, not mainstream media, but the mainstream of America, it's what people knew. The heartland knew these things were coming, and that's why they elected Donald Trump. So thank God that he understands the seriousness of this issue, and he's not being distracted by people that want to scream about political correctness, because we're talking about people's lives. And let me project something else. Since we know the left never wants to be hypocrites, what you should see all the rest of this week is demands from the left that we ban all white vans and all knives in America because they were used as terrorist weapons. If they're going to avoid being hypocrites, that's what they've got to be demanding this week.
Okay.
Let's watch and see if they avoid being hypocrites.
We don't have much time left, but I do want to get to some domestic news. Obviously, there's a big week coming up. A number of committees probing into Russia, obviously attempting to meddle in our election. I want to get your prediction. What do you think we're going to learn this week? There's hearings on Wednesday, and then we expect to hear from former FBI Director James Comey on Thursday. What do you want to hear out of Mr. Comey's testimony? And also, do you think either side's going to be claiming victory here, or are we going to see both try to spin it?
Well, I don't really care what Comey says. He can't be trusted. I had great hopes for him, and then the more we found out, the more we saw him playing politics with his position. And so I don't really care what he says. The things that he has done is what has been more important to me. And let's talk about the real problem. It's what we've seen is projecting by the left. they're the ones that coddled up to the Russians. They're the ones that made sure they bought 25% of our uranium. They're the ones that did a reset button after. They wanted Russia to know that, gee, we don't agree with Bush getting upset with you when you attacked Georgia, so we're good, we reset, we love what you're doing. They're projecting on Trump and Republicans what they themselves did. It's what they always do. They get engaged in some wrong activity and they blame their opponents for the activity they engaged in. Projecting is what it's, or you could call it gaslighting. You know the truth, but they keep saying you're crazy, it's your fault. Well, so I expect this week, though, that Comey will testify. He will be politically correct. He will. He's really dug himself a hole. He's committed crimes one of at least a couple of ways, and so it'll be interesting to see how he tries to tap dance around that. Okay. But regardless, he knew good and well that there was no obstruction of justice, because if he had, he would have reported it. He knew that. Okay, he didn't report it because he knew it wasn't a crime. Well. Okay, thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much for joining us, sir. I'm so sorry I'm getting the rap in my ear. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us.